Hello, today I wanted to show off this boss room and explain how I made it. It's basically a room where the walls will close in on you, but before I show you how I made it, let me show you just what it looks like when you play it. So Bowser Jr. is our boss. Well, he's not our boss, but he's the room's boss. So you can see the walls kind of close in. There's a delay. The delay is intentional. You don't have to have it. So we go through the door though, and that of course takes us somewhere very, very nice. Yay. Obviously you wouldn't put the door there, that's just for testing. So, okay, so how did I make this? So it's really simple. Starting from the outside, it's just a frame around a screen. So it's on the outside of the thick divider that shows you how big a screen is. So the divider's here, and so I just put the frame kind of around the edge, and then obviously I just put blocks up here on the top just in case you're able to come and get on top of these blocks here and kind of try to cheat these red blue blocks. This on the top will prevent you. So that's your frame. Obviously door to get in, door to leave, that's pretty basic. The Bill Blasters are sitting on conveyor belts that are continually trying to bring them to the center, but obviously these on-off blocks or these red-blue blocks, whatever, will prevent them, and they just need to be toggled, right? So the toggling mechanism is really simple. It's just a shell on a moving platform. So the reason there is that delay is because the moving platform is immediately going right away from the spring. If you put it left, then that delay would not be there, right? You can see, and obviously there's going to be somewhat of a delay, but you can see it's much shorter. So part of the reason I put the delay in is because with Bowser Jr. being 2 blocks because he has a mushroom, what can happen if you're kind of slow is when the cannons, oops, I didn't mean to go through the door, but when the cannons get to that stage that they were at, where basically there's only 2 blocks between them, Bowser Jr. is going to take up that entire space by himself. So when he's rolling around in his shell like that, basically he's taking up that entire space and you can't dodge him. You are going to get hit by him just like that. That was for demonstration purposes. And that's kind of crappy. So for someone who's a bit slower, that might be a little bit too difficult without the delay. Anyways, this spring obviously knocks this shell. The platform moves it into the spring, knocks the shell all the way here, hits it, toggles it to blue, then that deactivates the red, moves this over here. The blue's obviously activated, so it stays, and then once the shell hits it again, it moves again. That's basically how it works. It's really simple. Also, in terms of boss, it's kind of important to think, because these cannon or Bill Blasters are moving on conveyors, and we can't just have Mario on a conveyor, and we also can't just fill this in with ground or something, because then the cannon or the Bill Blasters won't move. So I use the semi-solid blocks to be the floor, because the cannons can kind of go through them or sit on top of them. The problem is, like, if I put a Hammer Bro in here, he's just going to jump down to the conveyor, and then you're going to be a little bit screwed. So that's something to be aware of with the boss. And Bowser Jr. as well can jump down. But apparently when you give him the mushroom, he doesn't really jump down anymore, which is kind of nice. He'll just he like jumps up and then he jumps, but he stays on the same platform. Without the mushroom, he can kind of jump down here, and it's kind of annoying. So I put these clouds in kind of as a stopgap measure. But then it turned out giving him the mushroom, the clouds weren't needed anyway. So I don't know how much the clouds help. They seem to help a bit. Even when he doesn't have the mushroom, they seem to help. But giving him the mushroom seemed to be the safest way to keep him up here. So the one thing, maybe the caveat to note, is that you want this to be at the right state. So that's part of the reason this door is off the ground, is because I don't necessarily want you to be able to exit and re-enter. And let's say you exit and re-enter and this is at the off state, then this would immediately start moving because this red would be deactivated. It's not a big deal, but it's just something to be aware of. That's one little caveat. When I was building this initially, I had these out here, but I just found that was a little bit too easy, so I moved them in. Obviously, I'll get rid of these and like fill this up and make it look pretty and whatever. Um, I originally was going to use Boom Boom, but he just died way too quickly, so I changed over to Bowser Jr., who, because he will roll around in his shell, that lengthens the time of the boss encounter. So that's why I chose him. You can give him wings. I almost prefer to fight him with wings. He throws hammers instead of the fireballs, and I almost think that's more fun. And I also tried stack enemies as bosses, but that wasn't very fun. I actually found that harder than fighting Bowser Jr., to be honest. I found it maybe a little bit harder than Bowser Jr., but Bowser Jr. is not a hard boss, so that's part of the reason why. Two things also I should note. So if the Bill Blaster was over here, you just want to make sure, or no matter where it is actually, you just want to make sure that the semi-solid platform extends to wherever it starts. So it's over here. Oops, you might be tempted to have your semi-solid platform start here instead, but you want it to start underneath. And the reason is if I have it starting here, what'll happen is when that moves, as we'll see in a second, there'll be like a gap. There'll be a gap, and it just looks weird. It shouldn't affect the room, but it just doesn't look very good. So that's basically the reason for that. Oh yeah, I was going to note as well, the conveyor belts aren't fast. That doesn't make a difference in terms of the level working, because, well, it just doesn't. But the reason that they are that way is it just provides kind of a faster response time for these moving once the state has been toggled on the on-off blocks. And then also, obviously, like, don't let them sit. Like, don't set it up so they're going to sit on the blue block, because then when it toggles, these are just going to fly away. And that's no good, because when the blue blocks turn red, it'll destroy the Bill Blaster. So don't have a setup where the blue is right here next to red, because then the Bill Blaster will stop in front of the red, and when these toggle, the blue becoming red will destroy the Bill Blaster, and it's no good. So don't do that. Alright, so I believe that is everything you need to know to make a room like this. I'm sure plenty of people already know how to do this. It's not that complicated. I just thought because I couldn't find a tutorial, I might as well make one, and then there's at least one out there for anyone who can't figure it out, or who doesn't want to have to take, you know, a half hour trying to figure out how to do everything. So that's all. Like I say, it's a pretty easy concept. So before I go, I just want to show, I went and made it very pretty. And I put backgrounds behind everything so that it doesn't look like it's just hanging out in the sky. Pro tip, the semi-solids, they do have platforms on top of them. They're not just backgrounds, even though I'm kind of using them as backgrounds in most of this. So don't put them up here where they're on top of the conveyor belt, because I have a feeling that will stop the Bill Blasters from being able to move. But as you can see, if I come out on top of the clouds, where I should be to fight this guy, this looks a lot better, looks a lot prettier. Kind of cheated taking him out by accident, but he's dead. And I think this is the right amount of time. I think this is absolutely the right amount of time that it takes to squish you, just like that.